We got something special today. This morning. Cheers, aka Powders. Get yourself some of that legal dark drip. Let's go. Good morning and cheers, my aka Powders. It is Saturday. It's time to admire something beautiful. Beowulf, adapted and illustrated by Jerry Bingham from First Graphic Novels. Now, at this time, and I know a boy's been through the channel. Jerry, I think Jerry's left comments. Thank you, Jerry. Of this time, here's something amazing. All right, and we're going to get into like other tangents here. We've done this before. We've done Batman, Son of the Demon, not canon, but later canon, and now DC's just upside down. I grew up with this. I remember drawing this. There was a kid in my neighborhood, a local yard sale. My mother and grandmother, like they bought this like big piece, and the kid like recreated this with colored pencils and markers, and I had it hanging up in my room for the longest time. I never knew who made that piece, where they bought it, where they found it, but they knew I'd like Batman, and they bought it from him. And later, like I was to discover that he took that piece from here. But Son of the Demon is pound for pound one of the greatest illustrative pieces of all time. I argue that this is the greatest illustrated Batman story of all time. There's very little that competes with this. I'm not, no cap, no joke. I'm being serious. I grew up with this. The level of perfection, the artistry, and just how brutal some of this is by Jerry. He draws this level of like brutality in this. This haunted me. Like here, like he just like smashes the dude's head. Like I couldn't believe my eyes. And my parents, maybe at the time, didn't know what comic books were, but I grew up with this. So I was recently at a used bookstore and we came across Beowulf. Right here. This is of the day, the best graphic novel that came out that year. I believe it might have been, this could be Eisner. And later, so like I think 2 years later, he wins for this now too. And I want to say this won the Jack Kirby Award. Like 80, 84, 86. Fact check me on any of that. But I came across this at a used bookstore. I paid $2 for this. This is the deal of the century because this has long been on my list to bring to you guys. Because, and here's the amazing thing. I'm not sure. 1984. Yeah, first printing. So I got the second printing 1987. I'm not sure if there's anything of the day that beats this. And we're also in an era where Conan the Barbarian is evident and published. And he's published in multiple illustrated forms, including a lot by Marvel. But our boy here, I mean, he's just going. I think there's a lot of production design here that Robert Zemeckis used, especially in the hall scene. And remember this scene in that Robert Zemeckis movie? It's crazy, right? Like he kidnaps like the people, like the kid, and Beowulf's got to go hunt him down, right? Beowulf is just like hunting something down type movie. I mean, type story or poem. But I think there's a lot that Robert Zemeckis used. I think this was a template for that CGI motion capture movie, the Image Movers movie. But what Jerry does here, right? Jerry Bingham, you have to know this name. I love the way he breaks up the shadows for these steps, and even here, like inside of the castle wall. See, like not drawing, like again, like not drawing to the edge. You leave just enough open. Illustrative effects. to the potential dawn, right? Sunset or sunrise, it doesn't matter. But like the heavy shadows on the hills, like it's just, again, like the hill doesn't have to be shadowed this way. Because, right, like I believe the light source is here. So maybe it does, but it's not, right? Like it's shadowed the way it is just for the line effect, right? And that's kind of what we get here. But we get a sense, right, that the sun's moving from left to right. Only a master illustrator can do this. And I want to say, like, this was the building ground for this. Because I think this is so much more complete. This is more, again, this is absolute mastery. I'd rather, like, I guess in my world right now, I'd rather study this than, like, Tom McFarlane or Stephen Platt, any of the 90s guys. But I just see so much of these, like, other interpretations in this. And he does, like, look at his clouds. Like, the clouds are fantastic. Now, I think he's coloring this. Sorry, guys. I'm not joking. I just, writer, artist, colorist. Right, colorist. I'm going through this pretty much for the first time. I flipped through it a little bit on the way home, but, you know, I got home not long ago, and we're recording this. I mean, here, too. Like, the hands around the cup. But you have to build, I talk about this, you have to build in solutions to where, like, the gravel, the rocks on the ground, they fade into, right, you know, like they fade into the rocks, right? Like this is for show. Even when you see this stuff, like this is for show. This is for the optics, right? These aren't structural rocks inside the castle, but like he fades it in though, right? Like fades it in. Like even here, see, like because like the archway, you never want to draw it complete. You have to kind of draw it to where like there's a level of like atmosphere and blur, even if it's pen and ink. This like these are like the psychological things that the illustrator does when they're aware of how the human eye moves. Like even here, see, like you're not going to draw every single little rock, every single little brick rock into, you know, like towards the top of the stairway. You curve your lines and you break them up to give the impression of a curve. I cannot stress that enough. But his hands, and even like the subtle, like you see some of the subtle veins in there. It's top-notch stuff. Like this too, man. Like he draws like these claws. Like things just look deadly with him. There's Beowulf ready for action, right? Like, and this is nuts. Like, look, he smashes the little goblin boy right into the wall. But then look, I saw this on the way home. Look, he rips off the arm. And like some nice ending. I mean, he like right, like this sequence is just like it's just perfect. And he does something right. We talk about where he keeps the action on one side of the page, one side of the panel. Here, the action's to the left. He does something very similar here with the boat. See how like pretty much the boat's on the left. Right here, everything's facing the left. It creates symmetry for like the mind's eye. The mind's eye can track it. That's your job as an illustrator. Yeah, right. So he goes back home to the mother, and then like the mother goes after him. But this is just like wild stuff here. Like you really want to say, right? Like I know there's probably a little bit of an overlap. This book you want to say got into Walt Simonson's hands, and we've seen those Walt Simonson Thor sketchbooks, where he draws like every single like artifact from Viking from Viking ancestry, and he puts it all in Thor. But this like you had to have read this and said this could be Thor. And again, this is why this is the work we do here on the channel. Like even here too, like the subtle dust building up, but he's still drawing like edge to edge, but he's making these choices. Open panel here, like look at him, like grab it, like look at the dude's hair, and it's just the expressions in the hands. Like nice, he doesn't have a lot of silhouettes in here, but this one is nice. Like even here though, right? Like just where the like the edge of the forest where it starts to die off. And again, like him like reach, like again, like a tough thing to draw, like reaching for the surface of the water from underneath here, like the bubbles. Right? Do we know where did the bubble effect come from? Right, because throughout the 80s and the 90s, this becomes more and more prevalent, more and more perfected. Look at the expressive line work here. But again, like the reflection, see, it's like the sequence. There's a reflection, right? Like it should be like this. He takes off his clothes, jumps in. He's also swimming with his. So why is he swimming with the helmet? Why is he swimming? Or like, what's he putting on some chainmail? Like, but why is he like? Look, we have to tag the character. Like that's the whole point. He's got Beowulf has the horns. He's horny. We have to tag the character. But some of these, like, excuse me, thin panels like this, they're not easy to nail. Because you kind of, again, too, like, there's a little bit of a triangulation here, but you have to fit everything still, right? And I want to say, potentially just looking at this, he may have had, like, a caption block here. He may have moved it. He may have adjusted it because the flow of the panels. Like, going from here to up here, not great. But now here, like, there's a little bit of an S-curve. We can follow that. Again, like conscious decisions in this too, and too like him, like just digging into right, like what I forget. Excuse me, I forget. Like what is like the demon, the dragon, right? I know in the movie this is Angelina Jolie, which is a great thing to do, but right. But again, like look at the work on the beard. The coloring's great. Right, like we can see some of it here, right? Like we're using Doc Martens. Chapter 4. Right, like the dragon. See, I'm like remembering some of this. I have to get really familiar with the story though. Because I feel like I should know it to where I could have narrated it better for you guys. But again, judge me, judge an artist, judge an illustrator on how well they can handle horses, animals, children. Not all of them are going to be perfect, and you have to be selective. So how's he with the other horses here? Like good, like strong horses there. I just feel like there's, like, again, strong horses, like clear picture references here. But even like with the horizon, right? Like we have the horizon. This is our point of view. And then like just popping a couple figures in the back. Again, creates that layer. He does the same here. Easy stuff, but effective. So he fights the dragon. I guess him and his father go fight the dragon. Father and Sunday. I mean, look at that dragon fire. This is awesome. I love this panel. Like, this is just the positive, negative space here. But yeah, they fight the dragon, right? One of them dies. Look at him just like cutting into... Like, he perfected the blood by the time he got to... Son of the Demon. Because like this is just like horrific looking. Just one of the great comic book figure drawers, great illustrators. illustrator, storyteller, doing the job. And that's it. I mean, guys, this sucker is so cheap and is such an education. Rock and roll. I love you guys.